Does anybody else feel like this is taking a really long time? I feel like this is taking a really long time. It's been a long journey. Starting out with receiving this boat for free from a friend, coming up with solutions to house the motor, doing the subfloor, moving on to the framing, all the electrical work, the decking. Now we're on to the finer points, which includes coming up with a mounting option for that Minn Kota Powerdrive trolling motor. Now you can see the issue that I'm running into. I need to figure out a way to get something mounted underneath here that is going to allow for the motor to go into its full deployed position while at the same time lays out so that it doesn't protrude beyond the sides of the boat. Now one of the things that I could do is build a cap, like extend this aluminum all the way back on the frame so that I've got a platform for that trolling motor to mount to, but I don't want to do that. Mostly because I suck at working with metal. So we borrowed an idea from another YouTuber, link in the description below, and we're going to use this aluminum U-channel to create an elevated spot to which the trolling motor will mount. Now this whole thing starts with understanding how big the gap is between your decking and your trolling motor itself. It's going to be different on every single boat that's out there. You could have built your boat so that the decking sits flush to the gunnels. In that case, you may not have to do this at all, but in my case, I've got this gap here, and I need to know exactly how big that gap is. Now the hull of this ALUMACRAFT T14S has kind of an upward slope nose. Even though this decking is level, the gap that I have on this side of the trolling motor is slightly different than the gap that I have on this side. It's about 3¼ inches over here, and it's about 3½ inches on this side. So I got myself a 24-inch long chunk of 61, I believe, whatever the case. But the base on this thing is 4 inches tall. And I chose 4 inches because I know that I'm going to flip this on its side and my motor is going to sit on top of it like that once the entire thing is assembled. Good Lord, that metal is cold. Point is, I knew that 4 inches was enough to more than cover the gap so that my trolling motor would be able to hang over the edge without running into any obstruction when I deploy it. So now what we have to do is we got to figure out exactly how this thing lines up, how much of this channel I need on each side. Once I know that, I can cut it and I can start to build the structure. Full disclosure, there is one thing that I am concerned about, and that's that trolling motors bounce. When you're going down the highway, that trolling motor is going to shake. You got all this leverage of this long shaft that's going to be hanging out this way. It could rip your deck right off of your frame. So it's really important that if you're gonna mount your trolling motor, that your front decking, however you have it secured to your framework, is strong enough to handle it. I'm hoping that my decking is strong enough so that that won't be a problem. We're gonna find out. It's interesting taking this plate off. You've got these holes, and those holes stop right here, right in front of where this pillar is. I don't need a full foot to build the mount that I'm looking for. Does that disconnect? That's kind of a hassle. I don't need to take all that off. Now the manufacturer's instructions recommend that we use at least 4 of these holes. So let's get this thing positioned and find out exactly how far back or forward this thing can be and still do the job. Bring me in and show you what I'm looking at. So I suppose that I could have my aluminum go all the way up to here, but then I would have to cut an angle to match the curve of the boat. I don't know that I'm interested in doing that. I'm also not 100% sure that this is the angle at which I want the motor to sit. I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to mark this for the edge of the gunnel. Then I can lean this back and figure out what angle it needs to be at, where I can still deploy it when I want to use it, but while I'm in transit, it'll lay in the direction that I want it to lay and not get in anything's way. 11 inches, 6 1/8 inches. But I'm gonna need to give myself a little bit of extra space. When I go to mount this, there's gonna be bolts that run through this material. Now, if I put these holes all the way up to the edge and I push the bolt through, there's not going to be any way for me to hold on to the nut. It's going to run into this aluminum. So you inherently have to make this a little bit wider than the shoe plate of the motor itself. Just to be safe, we're going to make it 11 inches long by 7 inches wide. So here we have the rough mock-up of what's going to sit underneath this. Notice I've only attached flat bar to the bottom, not to the top. so that it doesn't interfere with the holes from the foot of the trolling motor. Let's see how this fits. That's not too shabby. So if I stick with that angle, am I thrilled with that? I don't know. I'm not exactly sticking out beyond the edge of the boat over here. I still have the ability to access the hatch if I need to with the trolling motor in the stow position. This is going to be okay. We will get these roughly centered on the plate. This is going to end up looking something like that. Whatever, fall off, fine. Now we take this apart, drill the holes in the base, and then we move on to paint. Always difficult to get these started when they're upside down.
You know what always cheers me up? Laughing at other people's misfortunes.
Stay on. God damn it. If only I had a light that I could turn on in here. Oh wait, I do. Really?
George is getting upset.
It just fell off in my hand for no. Oh my god. Hallelujah. Why did they come off? Oh.
I said I wasn't going to get angry, and I'm not angry.
It wouldn't be so insulting if I didn't already have this on. That's all I'm asking for. Just hang out. God. There has to be a better way than this. I just don't know what it is. Is that one started? It is! Okay, good. Beautiful. That was a way bigger hassle than it should have been. Now we got to figure out how to get this thing power. I think I know what to do. One of the things that I struggle with are these Atwood style push-in electrical connectors. Now this is a 12 volt battery, so only 2 of the pins on the inside are actually being used, positive and a negative. But these connectors over time, especially in situations where they're getting bounced around or wiggled or moisture gets in there, they're really, really flaky. I had similar style connectors on almost every trolling motor I've ever had until I discovered these, which are basically press and lock connectors. All right, check this out. So you get lined up, watch this barrel. It's gonna rotate and snap into place. And once it's there, that thing is not moving. When you wanna take it off, all you gotta do is twist it, and the whole thing comes undone. These are what I've been using on my Old Town AP 136. They're great. We are going to cut off this thing, and we are going to replace a receptacle so that it uses this press lock connector. Even though we don't routinely expect to be disconnecting it, it's just so much more a stable connection, and it's so much more trustworthy. Now, as far as where that connection is going to go, drill a hole through that. Nothing in the way. I'm not wasting any space. We'll get the trolling motor out of the way first. Pretty simple to connect these, right? Pop that off. Pop off the backing, and then you've just got these 2 plug connectors on the back. One positive, one negative. It's important to remember which one is which. There's a nice little sealing ring, an O-ring that runs around the base in that red right there. And then you've also got that compression type connector right there. That's really not going to do much in terms of waterproofing, but it's better than nothing. Don't have to strip off much here. Just enough to fit into those leads. Now these connectors are keyed. Looks a little bit like a Deadpool mask in there, right? Down there on the bottom, you got a key on this side and a key on this side. That's going to be an easy way for you to keep track of which side is your hot and which side isn't. So with the key facing down, I'm going to have my hot be the wire on the right. You got to feed all this good stuff through. If you intend to use heat shrink, it's a good time to get all that stuff ready. And I do. You unscrew 2 screws on the side of the connector. Loosen them up. Red wire is in. And you just gotta tighten the screws right back up. You don't have to go crazy with it because these screws are kind of cheap. Then you just repeat the process for the negative lead. The nice thing about these connectors too is you see that heat shrink, right? They created a gap in there, so you can just slide that right up on. If you look inside here, there's a gasket that collapses all around it. So that connector is done. Give you all a sense more directly of what we're looking at. Here we've got the connector. Line runs down through the back into the hull. When I want to connect it, that's it. Good to go. Disconnect, probably 1/8 of a turn back to the left. Bam, pops right off. I love these things. So my actual intent here is for the trolling motor to go to the accessory battery. I just want the motor to be riding on this battery by itself, but it's the only one that I've got a 50 amp breaker on this end of the boat. So for now, it's what I'm going to make use of. I made sure to cut the cables long enough so that I could reroute them over to the accessory battery once I get that new breaker. I don't want the motor on here without some kind of protection. And I didn't feel like putting a 50 amp fuse in line. Way easier to go the other way. Close that breaker. 12.82 volts DC. If I invert this, it should go negative. Yep, 12.82 volts DC negative, which means my hot is on the right as planned. We're all connected. That's live, this is live, this is all hooked up, good to go. Give it a test. Fully charged. Down over here, we'll hit the go button, and there she is spinning. Don't want to go too far because I don't want to hit my tire. All right. That is super cool. We got a 100% functional trolling motor. Now, as far as what I'm going to do with the foot pedal, my plan for now is whenever it's in use, I can tuck all this away. These DPI hatches are pretty sturdy, so I'm going to rig up some heavy-duty Velcro. And when I'm not using it, I can store it in one of my dry storage bins. This is dope. This thing is looking awesome. Does it stick? I want to lift this. Yep. We're gonna get all this cleaned up and get some pictures. I'm excited about this. This is good. Dude, I am very pleased with the way this turned out. I think that's going to do it for this episode. I feel like it's been a good one. Again, I want to send a shout out to Backwater Boat Rehab for documenting a really, really good idea. Ended up helping somebody, me. And I guess that's really what this is all about. We document the things that we do, not for cool points or anything like that, in hopes that maybe it'll make the job easier for somebody else somewhere down the line. Again, if you enjoyed it, please make sure to hit like and subscribe, follow along. This is episode 9 of what I expect will probably be like an 11-part series of the full build of this boat. And if you don't, that's okay too. It's my first time doing it, and I feel like all in all, it's going pretty good so far. Whatever the case, I'll just hope to catch you on the next one. Thanks for coming by.